بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Tonight we start our first lesson in the fiqh of fasting, the fiqh of al-Siyam. Okay, and I think most of us have received the announcement where we know we changed the procedure somewhat because our Shaykh couldn't make it. So we begin straight away with the fiqh of fasting. Okay, the fiqh of al-Siyam. So first and foremost, what does the word Siyam mean? What does the word as-Sawm, what does it mean? The word Sawm, it means imsak, right? Linguistically, literally it means imsak, which means to withhold or to restrain or to abstain from, right? So literally the word fasting actually means in Arabic language to abstain from something, okay? For example, Allah says in the Quran, addressing Maryam alayha salam, فَكُلِي وَاشْرَبِي وَقَرِّي عَيْنًا. So eat and drink and be contented. فَإِمَّا تَرَيِّنَّ مِنَ الْبَشَرِ أَحَدًا فَقُولِي إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا. Okay? He instructs Maryam alayha salam to say that if you see any person from mankind, then say to them, I have vowed for the sake of Ar-Rahman to take a sawm, to sawm. So what does the word sawm mean here? Doesn't mean to fast. It means she has taken a sawm, فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا, and I will not speak to any person on this day. Which means she has to abstain, she has to keep away from speech. So the word sawm, literally it means to abstain from something, to withhold, to restrain yourself. As for in terms of the Sharia, what does the word sawm mean in terms of the Sharia? Who can define fasting for us in terms of the Sharia? Define it for us. Fasting is when you abstain from food and drink and sexual intercourse with your spouse from the time of Fajr till Maghrib. That is basically the definition of fasting in terms of the Sharia. However, Ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah, and maybe it's important that we mention that the book that we are busy doing is a book known as al-Mustaqni, which is a text of classical fiqh based on the Hanbali madhab, and it is explained by our Shaykh Muhammad Ibn Salih al-Uthaymin rahimahullah. So here Ibn Uthaymin says that we have to actually add to this definition a word. The word means an ibadah, right? That fasting is not just abstaining from food and drink and from sexual relations with your spouse, but rather it's an act of worship. And this act of worship makes us then abstain from all of these things. Because we have to understand that fasting is not just a ritual. It's not just something that you do. You don't just abstain from food because you have to do that. But rather, you're abstaining because this is an ibadah. And this you have to keep in mind throughout the day. That we are fasting for the sake of Allah. We are abstaining and this is an act of worship. It's not like the person who has no food. It's not the same thing. That person is suffering. That person, he doesn't have. But you have. But you are abstaining for the sake of Allah. To please Allah. Because this is an act of worship that you are seeking reward for, that you are gaining closeness to Allah with. Right? So you have to understand that this word is very important that we add to the definition. It is an act of worship. And therefore you should treat your fasting like an act of worship. So you don't just suffer through the day and can't wait till you get to Maghrib. Rather, you understand that for the entire day you are in a state of ibadah. You are in a state where you are close to Allah. And this is why the hadith mentions that he made fasting an obligation in the second year of the Hijrah. The second year of the Hijrah, fasting Ramadan became an obligation. So therefore the Prophet ﷺ, he fasted 9 Ramadans. He fasted 9 Ramadans. Initially, when fasting was revealed, Ramadan, you had a choice. Right? Initially, the Muslims at that time, they had a choice. Either you fast for the day, or you can eat. But if you eat, you have to feed basically a poor person in place of your fasting. Right? So either you can fast, or you can feed a poor person for the day. So initially they had a choice. And this we know is one of the ways that the Sharia, one of the ways that the Quran came down. It came down in stages. Okay, the Sharia didn't just come down in one go and that's it. It came down in stages. Likewise with the issue of khamr, with drinking alcohol and any intoxicant rather. Initially it was permissible. It then became haram in 3 different stages. In 3 different stages it eventually became haram. Okay, so when Allah, in the time of revelation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He didn't just give the Sahaba, here you go, accept this deen as it is. Rather in that time, because this was now a new religion that was coming about, for them to give up their ways and accept the new deen completely, something very difficult. So this was from the wisdoms of Allah, that He sent down this deen gradually, right? And this was the case with khamr, with fasting as well. So initially, fasting was not an obligation. Rather, you had a choice. Either you fast or you can feed someone for the day. Okay? Also, initially, fasting used to be from Maghrib, or rather from after Isha, fasting used to begin. So you had to fast from after Isha till Maghrib. So you had the time to eat was from when? Between Maghrib and Isha. You had one sleep with your wife, for example, that is the time that you had. So what you could do is you could delay Isha so that you get more time. But once you prayed Isha, now you have to fast. For those of you who sleep after Maghrib, when you get up, you are fasting. This is how it used to be initially. And then this became difficult for the people. And then Allah, He made it easier, right? And then the ayat came down about when you see, the dawn and all of that. And we'll get to those ayat, bi'idhnillah. Okay? So, Ibn Uthaymin then he goes off and he says that we need to understand that this is from the hikmah of Allah. This is from the wisdom of Allah, that He has also made our ibadat of various types. So if we look at the taklif, at our obligations, right? Let's look at the pillars of Islam, the main obligations. We have the shahadatain, that's there. Salah, zakah, fasting and hajj. He says Allah He has changed and made each act of worship different, as a test for us, as a test to see who of the slaves of Allah truly worship Him correctly, and who of them are only doing that which suits them, that which is easy for them. So he says that, for example, if you were to reflect over the various ibadat, you will find that some of them, they are only regarding your body. They're bodily actions. For example, your salah, just to do with your body. Some of them strictly regarding your wealth. Zakah, you don't have to go out and strive to pay zakah. Zakah is just about you giving your money. That's it. And some of them is a bit of both. Hajj, you have to go out and strive. At the same time, you need to spend. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it like this. Why? As a test. To see who's willing to give from that which they love. To see who's willing to sacrifice from that which they love. So some people, they can make salah easy. It's just something that they do. It's easy. They can make 1,000 raka'at a day. But they can't fast one day for the sake of Allah. Because for them to sacrifice from their food, they just can't. For them to sacrifice from eat and drink, they can't do that. Others, they can fast every day. It's not an issue. But for them to pay zakah is a big deal. Because money is beloved to them. Or for them to make salah, they can't make salah. It's difficult. You stand there and pray to Allah, they find it tough. So this is from the hikmah of Allah. That He didn't make ibadat one thing. We don't only gain closer to Allah by giving money. So you can be a wealthy person and just give sadaqah. And you can be safe because I'm doing ibadat every day. But there are other things that Allah wants from you to see, are you willing to sacrifice. Strive with your body, strive with your wealth, sacrifice as well. Okay? So our author, he says that Ramadan becomes wajib when the moon is sighted. Okay, when the moon is sighted. So the mas'ala that we're discussing here, and this is basically the first issue, which is how do we ascertain when the month has begun? How many ways do we have in terms of the Sharia to ascertain that Ramadan has now officially come? Sighting the moon, as we said, that's one. Another way, there's two ways that you will know Ramadan is there. What if you don't sight the moon? The number of days of the previous month. That's the two ways, and it's only that two ways. So there's two ways. Number one, that you sight the moon. And for this there are many adillah, there are many proofs. Number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Whosoever from amongst you sights the moon, whosoever from amongst you sees the moon, then he must fast. Right? فَلْيَصُمْ, then he must fast. That's an explicit ayah. In a hadith, there are many ahadith. One of them is where the Prophet ﷺ, he says, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُ فَصُومُوا. When you see the moon, then you must fast. When you see the moon, then you must fast. So this is obviously the first way. And on the 29th of Sha'ban, we go out and we sight the moon. If you see the moon, alhamdulillah, ja'a Ramadan. Right? Ramadan has come, and there's no worries about that. Okay, the second way is, okay, and here the Prophet ﷺ says, when you sight the moon, then you must fast. Ibn Uthaymin mentions, this means you sight the moon in which any way possible, which means whether you use wasa'il or not. Wasa'il means you use those, you take the means to sight the moon. For example, you use a telescope. You sit here on the mountain with binoculars. You are still sighting the moon. Because the hadith says, when you sight the moon, when you see the moon, then you must fast. So to sit with telescopes, it enters into the hadith. You understand? Because the hadith says, when you see the moon. So whether you use a telescope or binoculars or any means, you are still sighting the moon. Understand? So that is all permissible.
So now, sir, I need to ask when people talk about sighting the moon with a naked eye, where does that come from? Or is that
sighting the moon with a naked eye?
Yeah, when people generally say you must sight it with a naked eye.
So sighting with a naked eye could mean by a telescope, can't it?
Yeah, no, I hear you, but you're using technology.
Yeah, so as I'm saying, using technology is perfectly permissible because there is no way that it says that you can't, number one. Secondly, the hadith says when you see the moon, then you must fast. So if you are using a telescope, for example, you're still sighting the moon. You understand? So the issue of naked eye, that requires proof. If it means you must sight it without any equipment, we need proof for that statement. Understand? But the hadith says if you see it, you fast. Whether you use whatever equipment, you are still seeing the moon. That counts as that the moon has been born, the moon has been sighted, and therefore you have to fast. The next day will be the first of Ramadan. Understand? So that's the one way. The second way is that Sha'ban will be 30 days. So the hadith basically mentions that the months, the lunar months, right, the Islamic months, they are either 29 or 30 days. So on the 29th, we go to sight the moon. If we don't see the moon, what do? We make Sha'ban 30 days. Automatically, after the 30th day, the month is over. Then definitely the next day would be Ramadan. So those are the two ways that is legislated from a hadith, that we can ascertain that Ramadan has come. Number one, that you sight the moon. If the moon is not sighted, Sha'ban becomes 30 days. Automatically after that, the next day would be the first of Ramadan. Okay? So what about the issue of using calculations, where you can predetermine a year, 2-3 years before the time that on that day, next year, Ramadan will be on that day, exactly. Because it's calculated that the moon will be born, for example. What's the ruling on that? It's allowed. Why? Because the hadith says when you see the moon, then you must fast.
Some countries do.
Some countries do it. People are doing anything and everything. Okay? So, basically, there is no proof to say that you are allowed to calculate when the month has been born, or calculate these things. And also, this could have been done in the past. It was possible that they could have also calculated. You understand? That the time for the moon is like this, and it could have been done, but they never done it. Right? So that's proof number one. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah and other scholars have stated that there is ijma' from amongst the Sahaba that this is not allowed. There is consensus of the companions that calculating when the moon will be born is not allowed, it's not accepted. Okay? Also, the ahadith specifically mentions when you see the moon, then you have to fast. Another proof is there's a hadith in Sahih Bukhari where the Prophet ﷺ said, Inna ummatan ummiyatan la naktub wa la nahsib. Ash-shahru hakada hakada. Okay, he says that we are an ummah who is unlettered, ummiyah. We know the Prophet he was unlettered. He says we do not write down, nor do we calculate. La naktub wa la nahsib. Nor do we calculate. The month is like this or like that. So that's explicit. Right? That is explicit. He says the month is like this or like that. Which means it's 29 or it's 30. But we don't write down, we don't calculate. Understand the hadith? Okay, is it clear? So from these proofs, we state that those who do calculations, this is an action which is rejected. So if you are in a country where people are officially doing calculations, you are not supposed to go with them and fast with them. Because their method is rejected basically. So therefore you would probably follow another country who has actually cited the moon. Okay? So we have something then, the next issue is something known as Yawm al-Shak. Yawm al-Shak is the day of Shak, the day of doubt. Yawm al-Shak is the day of doubt. What is the day of doubt? Last day of Sha'ban. Not exactly.
The first day of Ramadan.
It could be the first or it could be the 30th. Right? But there's doubt. Why is there doubt? Because we went out on the 29th to sight the moon, but it was cloudy. And it was, the skies were unclear. So we don't know, is the moon there or not? So all of a sudden there's doubt. Is the moon born or not? Now it becomes known as Yawm al-Shak. You understand? It's the day of doubt. So scholars have differed over this issue. And some have said that in such an instance, you take the opinion that tomorrow is the first of Ramadan. So you make Sha'ban 29 days and Ramadan is the next day. Okay? That is one opinion of some scholars. The second opinion is it is haram to fast on that day. It is haram to fast on the day of doubt. And this is the correct view. Because of the following proofs. Right? The Prophet ﷺ, he says, لا تقدموا رمضان بصوم يوم أو يومين. He says, don't meet Ramadan. Don't precede your Ramadan with a day of fasting or 2 days of fasting. So if you're someone, you're waiting for Ramadan. Here the Prophet ﷺ says, don't let your Ramadan be preceded by a day or 2 days of fasting. Except, he makes an exception, except رَجُلٌ كَانَ يَصُومُ صَوْمًا فَلْيَصُومُ. Except for a man from he's always fasting. So let's say the 29th is on a Friday, or the 29th is on a Thursday. The 30th could be the Friday, the Saturday. You are someone who always fasts the Monday or Thursday, those sunnah days. For you it's permissible to fast. But for someone who never fasts those sunnahs, not from you understand, from your routine to fast those days, it's not permissible for you to fast. Because the hadith says, don't precede your Ramadan with a day or 2 days of fasting. Except for the man who's always fasting. Meaning it's from his routine that he's constantly fasting. So for him, he's allowed. He must fast, he must continue his routine. Don't stop. But for others, don't come and meet the month with fast. You understand? So obviously the day of Shak would be 1 day before Ramadan. So therefore it enters into this hadith. Understand? Another hadith with the Prophet ﷺ, he says, Man sama al-yawm alladhi yashukku fi. Explicitly here. Whosoever fasts the day of doubt, the day where there is doubt in it, فَقَدْ عَصَى أَبَا الْقَاسِمِ صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then he has disobeyed Abu al-Qasim. Who's Abul Qasim? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why was he Abul Qasim? His first son was Al-Qasim. His son's name was Al-Qasim, so he was the father of Al-Qasim. So here the hadith says, he has disobeyed Abul Qasim. Whosoever fasts that day where it's doubtful, he has disobeyed Abul Qasim. So from this, it becomes clear, right? Now, there is a hadith where, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, فَإِنْ غُمِّيَ عَلَيْكُمْ. If it becomes cloudy, فَاقْتُرُوا لَهُ. Then calculate the month. If it becomes cloudy, then calculate the month. So many of those who say calculation is permissible, they use this hadith, because the Prophet said, calculate the month, right? And others have understood it to mean, calculate it to be that tomorrow is Ramadan. Okay? But, and this is a very important principle in understanding the deen, we have principles, right? In tafsir, explaining the Quran and the Sunnah, we have principles. And the first thing is, for example, the Quran explains the Quran. If you want to do tafsir of the Quran, you must study the Quran. It will explain itself. Okay? The second step is, the Sunnah explains the Quran. You with me? And also, the Quran explains the Sunnah, and the Sunnah explains the Sunnah itself. Is that understood? So to become a person of knowledge, you have to have knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah. Because the two will constantly be explaining itself. So to take one hadith becomes problematic. Calculate it. That's what the one hadith says. But to understand this hadith, we need to see all of the other ahadith. You with me? The other ahadith says, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, الشهر 29 ليلة. The month is 29 nights. فلا تصوموا حتى تروه. So don't fast until you sight the moon. Right? فإن غم عليكم. But if it becomes cloudy, فأكملوا العدة 30. If it becomes cloudy, then complete the month as 30, as 30 days. So here this now explains the other hadith. When it becomes cloudy, doesn't mean calculate. It means make it 30 days. Because this hadith explains that hadith. In another narration it says, أكملوا العدة 30. Make the month 30 days. So when it becomes cloudy, the next day will be the 30th of Sha'ban. That day of doubt will be the 30th of Sha'ban, and according to the correct view, it is haram to fast on that day. As we mentioned the two ahadith. Are you with me? Is that clear? Next issue. And this is it. Okay?
Can we just go back to the cloudy day?
Yes?
So, if we take like in Cape Town, the times we have cloud, and so they can't sight here, but then you have the phone calls being made to Joburg or wherever around the country.
Yeah. We're going to discuss that issue right now. Yeah. So the author now, he says, إِذَا رَآهُ أَهْلُ بَلَدٍ. If a particular people sight the moon, particular people from a particular place, if they sight the moon, he says, لَزِمَ النَّاسُ كُلُّهُمَ الصَّوْمِ. That it's obligatory now upon all people to fast. If a particular people sight the moon in a particular place, everybody must now fast. That is whose opinion? The author of Zad. Right? This is a Hanbali scholar. Okay? That is his opinion, and he is attributing this to the Hanbali madhab. Okay? So on the issue, is again two opinions. So the first opinion we have is, if a particular people in a particular place sights the moon, everybody must now fast because the moon has been sighted. Okay? The proof is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, "Sumu li ru'yatihi wa aftiru li ru'yatihi." Prophet ﷺ says, fast when you sight the moon, and break your fast when you sight the moon. So how do they understand this hadith? Generally, the moon has been sighted, we must all fast. The moon has been sighted the next month, we must all now stop fasting. It has Shawwal has begun. You understand how they prove? Proof is general. If the moon is sighted, you must fast. Okay? Another reasoning that they use is that this is closer to unity for the ummah. It's closer to bringing people together, bringing the ummah together, making the ummah one. Because how would it be if people in one country is fasting and in another country they're eating? In another country there's Eid, in another country we're still fasting. So there's no unity. You understand? This is basically their reasoning. That's two of the proofs that they use to say that if the moon is sighted in one place, everybody must now also fast. Okay? The second opinion is that this doesn't apply. This doesn't apply. What you should do is, each particular place must sight the moon for themselves. If another country sees the moon, it's not obligatory upon this country to follow them and also fast. Okay? That is the second view. So Shaykh al-Islam Tamiya rahimahullah, he says that the sighting of the moon, it differs from place to place. Sighting of the moon, it differs from place to place, and he says this is by agreement of all those who understand astrology. That the moon will be different here, in another place it's going to be different. It will be different. You can't make the sighting of the moon the same. Okay? He says, but if the sighting of the moon is the same between two different countries, if the sighting of the moon is the same, then you have to follow each other in your sighting of the moon. Okay? And he says this is proven by text and by analogy. So let's look at the text. He says the first one is the ayah, where Allah said, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Whosoever from amongst you sights the moon, then he must fast. So he says, the ayah says, whosoever from amongst you sights the moon. But if we here and the people in Turkey or Makkah sighted the moon, we haven't sighted the moon. So fasting is not obligatory upon us. You see how they understand the ayah differently. He uses the same hadith, Sumu li ru'yatihi. Fast when you sight the moon, and break your fast when you sight the moon. So if those in Makkah sighted the moon, it's not obligatory upon us to fast, because we haven't sighted the moon. And it would be different for us than it would be for them. Right? That's two general proofs that has, both sides are using that hadith. Because in the interpretation of the hadith is different. Okay? The one side says, as long as the moon was sighted, you have to fast. The other one says, it's only if you sight the moon, then you have to fast. Okay? The third proof that they use, which is the strongest proof in my personal opinion, is the hadith of Ibn Abbas. The hadith of Ibn Abbas states that al-Fadl bint al-Harith, she sent Qurayb to Muawiyah. Muawiyah was where? In Sham. Sham is, covers Syria, Palestine, all of those regions. Okay? And in Sham, they sighted the moon on a Friday night with Muawiyah. So this person then came back to Medina at the end of the month. Right? He comes to Medina at the end of the month. As it gets to the end of the month, goes to Ibn Abbas and says that, isn't it the 30th today? Shouldn't tomorrow be Eid? Because we sighted the moon in Sham on that Friday night. You understand? Ibn Abbas says, but we sighted it on the Saturday night. Okay? Ibn Abbas in Medina, he says, we sighted it on the Saturday night. She says, we sighted it on the Friday night. So it's the 30th already. The next day must be Eid. He says, no, it's the 29th. Right? So there's ikhtilaf amongst the Sahaba here. So they asked Ibn Abbas, is it not sufficient that we just go with the sighting of Muawiyah? And in the hadith, Ibn Abbas asks, did you sight the moon? The answer was yes. We all saw the moon. So then they asked Ibn Abbas, shouldn't we just go with the sighting of Muawiyah? Right? It was sighted there. Ibn Abbas replies, La. هكذا أمرنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says no. We don't just go, we don't be sufficed by their sighting. And this is the way that we have been commanded by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we find that those in Medina did not take the sighting of those in Sham to be their sighting. This was now the way of the Sahaba, and he says that this is how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed us to be. And that's why it is in Sahih Muslim. So it's authentic. So this is an explicit proof. It's clear. It's a strong proof.
How far Sham from Medina?
In those days, obviously, it was a travel. Right? Like I said, Sham was also broad. Syria, it's Palestine, it's all those little countries. Now it's become individual countries. You understand? But it's a distance from each other. It's not like neighboring countries. You with me? So that's an explicit proof that they didn't take the sighting of another place to be their sighting. Okay? Ibn Taymiyyah then says, as for qiyas, as for analogy, he says, then the time zones, your daily time zone is completely different to other countries. So automatically the sighting of the moon will be different. Right? It will be different. Likewise, when it's Fajr here, it's not Fajr there. Sometimes it's 10 hours apart. And here the hadith says, Allah says in the Quran, and eat and drink until you see the white thread becoming apparent through the black thread. Meaning the darkness of the night, you see the dawn starting to break through. You eat and drink until that time, until Fajr. That is now where your fasting begins. But this applies differently to each place. It applies differently to each place because your time zone is different. Likewise, the sighting of the moon will be different. Okay? So that is now the qiyas. And this is undoubtedly the strongest view. That if the moon was sighted in another place, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to fast because they sighted the moon. Rather, we say, if you are in the same time zone, right? And this is why we can phone Johannesburg and say, did you sight? Because it's the same. The moon will be, it will be the same day, but the way it is by us. And we can use our neighboring countries, no problem. We are in the same time zone. So in that case, if they have sighted the moon, then we follow them in their sighting. But if it's someone from far overseas who sighted, we can't just say, that we have to fast because they have sighted the moon. Okay? As for the unity argument, how do we respond to such an argument? The hadith. The hadith doesn't really go against unity. The reasoning behind the unity is, we want everybody to be together. So we're going to have Eid al-Makkah to have unity. You understand? The response is simple. That if you're having Eid al-Makkah, okay, now you united with the people in Makkah and the people in Turkey, and I know people in Europe use Makkah as sighting as well. So you have unity with them. But now you have ikhtilaf with your neighbor. And ikhtilaf with your brother and your sister. Where's the unity in that? Who is awla to your unity? Who has more preference to your unity? Who is more ahaq? Who has more right to your unity? Your people, your community, or your brother overseas? Doesn't make sense. The argument for unity doesn't make sense, right? The people who have more right to your unity is those who are here living with you. Okay? As if your brother's having Eid and he's in another country, pick up the phone and wish him well, alhamdulillah, right? Nothing wrong with that, but your Eid is with your people. Your Eid is with your local people and not with an international sighting. If your country decides that we are going to follow the view and we're going to go with an international sighting, alhamdulillah, no issues. No issues. If, let's say, South Africa decided we're going to go with Makkah. If Makkah sights the moon, we're having Eid. If Makkah sights the moon, we're fasting. Alhamdulillah, no problem, you go with your community basically. But if they say we're using our own sighting, then they have that right as well. Because quite clearly there Ibn Abbas said, it's not that the sighting of Sham is not sufficient for the sighting of Medina. Is that understood? But like I said, if they decide to go with an international sighting, then that's something good as well. That is something good as well. The next issue is the maankijker. Right? The maankijker. So, there is ikhtilaf over this issue. How many people must you have to have sighted the moon before you can say the moon has been sighted and that we are now going to begin fasting? Okay? Some scholars have said 2, other scholars have said 1. Other scholars have said 1 is sufficient. Right? And this is the correct view with conditions. The proof for it firstly is hadith of Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu. He says that taraaweeh nasal hilal. The people went out and searched for the moon. So this is a proof that you can go out and look for the moon. Yeah, he says the people went out and searched for the moon. فَأَخْبَرْتُ النَّبِي صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم أَنِّي رَأَيْتُهُ. So I informed the Prophet ﷺ that I already saw the moon. This is the son of Umar ibn Khattab. فَصَامَهُ وَأَمَرَ النَّاسِ بِصِيَامِهِ. So the Prophet ﷺ began fasting and he commanded everyone else to fast as well. What do we understand from this hadith? If you have one person who sighted the moon, it's sufficient. Yeah, the people went out and searched. He says, I already saw the moon. That was it. the month has now begun. Understand? One person is sufficient on condition. The condition is that he is someone who is known as is adil. He has adala, which is he's someone basically who's trustworthy and is not known to be a major sinner. Okay? So he's not someone who first of all he establishes the wajibat. He does that which is wajib. Secondly, he's not known to be a person of major sin. He's not an alcoholic, he's not a person who commits zina, he's not a person who indulges in riba. Likewise, he's not someone who is persistent or who is permanently on his major sins. Because as you know, a minor sin is there, but to continuously do a minor sin becomes a major sin. This is adala in the Sharia. He does the wajibah, he's not known for major sins, and he's not known to be someone who is constantly doing minor sins as well. So this is something actually difficult to find in today's time. Because if you look at yourself, are you someone who fulfills all the wajibat? Maybe you stay away from alhamdulillah the major sins, but the minor sins, are you someone who's always away from the minor sin? Right? That is something obviously that differs from person to person. Ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah, he argues here and he says that along with him being just and trustworthy, he must also have good eyesight. He must also have good eyesight. Because if he has weak eyesight, then we don't accept from him that he has sighted the moon. Every year they have these funny pictures, man, that goes around with the moon sighting issue. So there's a picture where there's an old man pointing at the moon and he says, "No, that's the man." His friend tells him, "No, that's the crack of your bro." There's just a crack on you can't actually see him. But in reality, here the scholars have discussed this issue. That if you're someone who can't see properly, then we don't accept from you, even if you know to be trustworthy. Right? And he argues that the proof for this is that in every action, in every deed, in every job that you do, you have to have two characteristics. Al-Quwwa and Al-Amana. Al-Quwwa and Amana. Quwwa is that you have the capabilities to do the job. Whatever job you are in, you have to have the capabilities to do that job. You cannot be a surgeon and have Parkinson's. You can't do the job that's not for you anymore. If you can't see, you cannot be a man taker. Okay? And you also have to have amana, that you are trustworthy. Right? And the proof for this is the story of Musa alayhi salam and those women. Right? Where they saw Musa doing a job. They went to their father, and Allah speaks about this in the Quran. They said to their father, "Ya abati, istajirhu. Oh, our father, hire that man. Hire him for the job. Inna khayra man istajarta al-qawiyyul amin." The best of those who you can possibly have for the job is the one who's qawi and is amin. The one who's trustworthy and the one who has the capabilities to do the job. So question?
So in saying so, obviously you have to have good eyesight in searching and looking for the moon, right? So then, why would we need a telescope? Why would we need to use those methods to...
Because it's permissible. Why do we need to use a telescope if you have to have good eyesight? Maybe the moon is very small. But the fact that you saw it with a telescope, you still saw the moon.
So if I, not to get technical about this, if I find the moon and I'm searching it with a telescope, a telescope is something that, I'm not talking about binoculars, we're talking about a telescope.
Yeah.
So if I find the moon and nobody else sees the moon and I sighted the moon with a telescope,
then they're supposed to accept it. If you are regarded as someone who's trustworthy, they're supposed to accept the fact that you sighted it, and then the month should have begun. The same with Ibn Umar. He says the people went and they searched, but I said I found the moon. So we fasted.
What you said earlier in the community, you're gonna...
Why? No. But here's the ruling, and you only need one person to see it. You don't have to have everybody, okay, there's the moon. But this person must be known to be a good Muslim, which means he's not going to lie. You understand? He's not known to be a major sinner. He's someone who makes his salah. He's someone who... You understand? Then we know him, we accept his shahada, his witness that he sighted the moon. You understand? But
so hadith doesn't mention anything about the naked eye like you were saying earlier.
The hadith says if you see the moon, that's it. if you see the moon, then you must fast. The interpretation is, seeing the moon means seeing the moon. So whether you see it with a telescope, whether you see it without a telescope, you're still seeing the moon.
And there's a big difference.
Why is it different?
Because a telescope is basically literally looking into space.
But it's still sighting the moon.
Oh.
You're not doing calculation. You're not estimating. You're still sighting. You understand?
But surely you're not
So
gonna
it
miss
enters
if you're
into
looking
the...
into a telescope.
No, you'll miss it if it's not there.
At least you have that.
You'll miss it if it's not there.
That
You will miss it if it's not there, you'll miss it. That means you have to follow, that means the Ramadan either or Sha'ban carries on the next day because the moon is not there. But someone may calculate and say, no, the moon is 2 minutes old. So you will need...
So Sheikh, why, as a man-kaker, don't the association and say, you know, let's invest in a telescope,
Exactly.
and instead of going to with a naked eye, we look through this telescope. So the naked eye plays a part in our community.
So if that's the way we do it...
You know, everybody talks about naked eye. That's why, you know.
But in other countries they use it.
You know,
Because they know it's not an issue.
I mean, it'd be reasonable to invest in a telescope, and then, you know, you don't have to go and stand on 3 angles and you know, try and... I mean, we're talking about technology,
Yes.
you know. I mean, if I take off my specs, I won't be able to recite the Quran. So I must put on my specs to see, you know, so I'm permitted to put it on to see the half. You know, that is technology. So you,
Yes.
you know, so, but in Cape Town, they always speak about the naked eye. There's no two ways about it.
Okay, so technically speaking, like I said, if you are claiming that you must see to the naked eye, then you need to provide us with a proof for that. It's that simple. Cape Town does many things that's not allowed. The Muslims of Cape Town do many things that's haram. So it doesn't mean that, okay, they're doing it, we have to also do it. If they decided tomorrow to have telescope there, then they can do it. But if they decided, no, we're not going to do it that way, we're going to sight, then, you know, you can't blame, you can't exactly say, you must use a telescope. It's not the condition either.
I mean, I think if you take the naked eye thing, I've been told for all my life, naked eye. But I've never asked the question from which hadith, from which sunnah, from which
Yes.
Quranic verse is that we accept it as a community, you know. With this type of information, we can produce proof that says, well, it doesn't talk about the naked eye. I don't want to say we're going to go and challenge the mind kicker, who's also respect that hopefully they'll be able to say, well, our proof is based on XYZ. But up until today, I've never asked anybody.
Yeah.
We accept what we are.
So next time someone tells you something, you say, Jazakallah khair, provide me the proof.
Sure.
Where does it specifically say you have to use a naked eye, you cannot use anything else? Because the hadith here is unrestricted, that you sight the moon. Sighting it means that you see it. See it means that you've seen it within, no matter how you see it, that you saw the moon. That's an unrestricted understanding of the hadith. For you to restrict it to the naked eye requires proof. Because the principle is that we act according to the text in its unrestricted way until another restriction comes and says only like this. You understand? So we have general proofs and we have specific proofs. You will always use the general until the specific comes to specify. I cannot just come and specify. No, it doesn't mean that, it only means this. That requires a proof. You understand? In terms of interpretation of a text, you need to have a proof before you can specify. So here, it's unrestricted. Fast when you sight the moon. For anyone to specify or to restrict that text to a particular meaning, he needs dalil for that. He needs proof for that. You understand? So, it's unrestricted. So therefore telescopes is must say in Saudi they use big telescopes, for example. Because that's how they understand the hadith.
Are we allowed to use astronomers? Like I'm a Muslim one.
Are you talking about calculations now?
No, using a telescope.
Yeah, if you're going to sight the moon, you're sighting the moon. But you're not going to go calculate the moon. That's the different thing altogether, because you're not sighting anymore. You understand?
But the need for the astronomer to be trustworthy as well.
He must obviously be Muslim.
Yeah, Muslim trustworthy, he still needs to meet that even though he's an astronomer.
Yeah, of course. Before we can accept his witness that he sighted the moon, unless other people also, he can show you maybe see if he sighted.
That's a whole subject on its own. I mean, he's Muslim, he's an astronomer, and he, in my opinion, he's obviously more, his opinion to be stronger than the market because, you know,
If he has sighted the moon, then technically he's supposed to be fasting. As I will discuss now. Question?
I still don't understand that the hadith where the moon was sighted in Sham and
Madina.
Madina, they said no, that the moon sufficed for us. But you also said after that if our country decides to accept the other country's site, so I don't think that affects back. So for instance, we decide the moon tonight, we don't see the moon, so then actually tomorrow will still be an extra day of our. But if our country decides we don't go, can we do that?
Yeah, because the texts are general also. It's fast when you cite it. So if they decide that, no, we're just going to use other countries, we're not going to cite ourselves. We will use either the closest country to us, or we will use the closest Muslim country to us. They have that right. If they decide, no, we're just going to go that, okay, the moon was cited, we will go with that. But they also have the right to say, no, we will cite ourselves. You understand? So there is some leeway there where you can't now clamp and say you must cite it yourself. They have a choice at the end of the day to say, if they cited the moon, we will go with that. But they can also say, no, we will do it ourselves. You understand? Okay, issue, mas'ala. You fast, you here in South Africa, or let's say you go for Umrah in Ramadan day, and they start fasting the 1st of Ramadan. You come back to South Africa, we are a day behind. We never sighted the moon, we are a day behind. How do you complete the month now? Because let's say they fasting 30 days there. You come here now, you are going to fast 31 days. Because we are a day behind. Understand? What happens?
Only 30 days. You can only do 30.
You can only do 30 days.
Break it fast.
You must break your fast.
Instead of breaking, no, if you break it fast, you can't fast a day.
And then you must have Eid with Makkah. The next day we're going to meet. Why can't you fast 31 days?
Because the hadith says, because the month is 39 days.
The month will still be 30, but you will fast 31 days. You will fast 31 days because you must fast with your people. You have Eid with the people that you are having Eid with.
Is that a
Right? Secondly, we can use qiyas here in an analogy with salah. You can use analogy with salah. If you are at a place where, or rather not salah, let's say you're in Johannesburg. Start fasting in Johannesburg. And then you fly over to Cape Town and you continue fasting. By the time you get here, you open your fast with who? Joburg. They break the fast at 5. You breaking fast in Cape Town at 6. Who are you going to break your fast with? Why? You started at 5. So you started with them, but now you're going to break with who? You're breaking with them, even if it means it's an increase in an hour from where you started with. Same issue here. Same issue here. You're not going to break your fast and no, I started with Joburg. I'm going to break at 5. I'm not going to fast at extra hour, no ways. You're going to break with where you are at. Similar issue here. If you're going to fast, it means you may to fast 31 days, you fast 31 days. And that's the view of many of the scholars, right? And also the hadith says, you fast the day the people fast, you break your fast the day the people fast, and you have Eid al-Adha, you slaughter the day the people have Adha. And that refers to your people, man. Right? The people means your people, not other people. You with me? So, what happens when someone sights the moon alone? And then he informs the others, I've sighted the moon now, and they reject him. No, we didn't sight the moon, we're carrying on. What happens to him?
You must fast now.
What happens to him?
Must fast with you.
Allah says in the Quran, whosoever from amongst you sights the moon, then he must fast. Whosoever from amongst you sights the moon, he must fast. But the others, they refuse to accept his sighting. So technically speaking, he must fast. Because the ayah applies to him. So he will fast. Ramadan applies to him now. You with me? Ramadan will apply to him. But with the others, it doesn't apply. Because one person's witness is sufficient. They rejected it, so for them it won't be, but for him, it will be his Ramadan. You understand? As for Sha'ban, if he alone sights it at the end of the month, then his Ramadan will continue. The month doesn't end for him. Why is that? Because the proofs state that for sighting the moon you must have 2 witnesses. But for Ramadan is proof for 1 witness. For Ramadan, the hadith of Ibn Umar is proof for 1 witness. So if you sight the moon before the month and you see it and the others reject it, you have to start fasting. Whereas the others won't. Some ulama said you fast silently, secretly, that no one will know, so that you don't create ikhtilaf. Okay? But for the end of the month, you must have at least 2 witnesses before you stop fasting, so that one person's witness won't be counted for the end of the month, Sha'ban. Is that understood? Okay. Was there a question there? So someone had a question?
It didn't happen last year, but it could have happened if, let's say you're in Makkah, right? And they start to go into night. So tomorrow you Cape Town, you fly from Makkah to Cape Town. So you arrive the next day in Cape Town. They still fasting, but you will Makkah when it is the next day, when you this night of the
So then you fast the next day with your country.
You fasted, even though you maybe perhaps even saw the moon. As long as you don't want to see the moon in Makkah, your people of Makkah saw the moon, you were there. So they keep.
Yeah, but you will be in this country now, Musa, right? At the beginning of the day. From the beginning of the day.
So you got to fast.
Then you have to be with your people, and the next day will be your Eid with the people.
And the person who saw the moon alone, was he fast like 31 days?
Yeah, because Sha'ban won't end for him alone. So
what he's saying is, if you saw the moon first alone,
yeah, I know. So you will be fasting an extra day basically.
for
To be
31
safe,
days.
technically, huh?
So then you fast 31 days.
You will also fast 31 days.
So you don't keep Eid alone on your own.
No.
So not to be technical, but on that example, if you did land in Cape Town, so you've seen it in Makkah, like you said, that you land in Cape Town at 11 o'clock in the morning already. Right? So the days already passed. Do you then just start from, because while you're traveling you might not be fasting.
So once you arrive, you start fasting.
You just start fasting.
No, you don't start fasting.
Then you leave the day.
Your day is over.
Yeah.
You have to fast at the beginning of the day. That issue will come up as well.
Alright.
Okay? What time up? Okay. Fasting is obligatory upon who? Right. First is that you have to be
Muslim.
okay, Muslim obviously.
Kalaf.
Okay, Muslim first of all, Muslim. Right? Which means if you are a kafir, you're not a Muslim, there's no benefit in your fasting. You are just you're starving yourself. Right? Some people have non-Muslim friends and they fast with them. If you're trying to bring him into Islam, alhamdulillah, okay, that's something you have good intention. But in reality, there's no reward for him. You with me? There's no reward for him. And there is no reward for any of their deeds, as Allah has stated in the Quran. Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا مَنَعَهُمْ أَن تُقْبَلَ مِنْهُمْ نَفَقَاتُهُمْ إِلَّا أَنَّهُمْ كَفَرُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. That which has prevented the acceptance of their nafaqat, their nafaqah, the good things that they do and they give, right, is nothing other than the fact that they kafaru billahi wa rasulihi. They disbelieved in Allah and the Messenger. Because of that, none of their deeds are accepted. Not even their nafaqah. So if they fast, it's not accepted, it's completely rejected. Okay? And obviously, if he becomes a Muslim, let's say he becomes a Muslim at 18. He was mukallaf from the age of 10. Okay, 15. So for 3 years, he hasn't fasted, he wasn't a Muslim. Does he have to do qada or not?
No.
He doesn't do qada, right? As Allah says in the Quran, say to those who disbelieved that if they stop, if they give up their disbelief, يُغْفَرْ لَهُمْ مَا قَدْ سَلَفْ. They will be forgiven for all of that which happened in the past. So as we know, they enter into Islam with a clean slate, right? Although Ibn Uthaymin now asks a question, he says, will they be punished for leaving off their fasting? So they're not Muslim. They live for 60 years. For 45 years they're supposed to have fasted. They didn't fast. Do they get punished for this on the day of Qiyamah or not? They get punished for that. They get punished not only for their disbelief, but for every wajib that they missed out, they will get punished for that as well. You understand? They get punished for every single wajib that they missed out for as well.
So doesn't tawbah apply to that?
Obviously they make tawbah, their slate is clean. But I mean they die a disbeliever, going to Jahannam. But along with that, they will be punished for all of the wajibat that they missed out. And one of the reasoning that the ulama use for this view is, if a Muslim who believes in Allah on the last day, he's going to be punished for the fasting that he missed out. He's going to be punished for the salah that he missed out. What about the kafir? Is he going to go free for that? Allah has commanded that we all do these acts. If the Muslim gets punished for missing it out, he believed in Allah, but he fell short, he will be reckoned with. Is the kafir excused from these things? Does he get away scot-free like, in these acts of worships? Can't be. So therefore they have argued that they also receive the sin for that. Right? But that's obviously on the side note. Secondly, you have to be mukallaf. You have to be mukallaf. Right? How does a person become mukallaf? When do we know when a person is mukallaf? For a boy, there's 3 signs. A girl is 4 signs. No one knows. Signs of bulugh. Voice? No, that's not one. Ihtilam. Right? Age. What age? 15 years old. Pubic hair. That's the 3 for a boy. Right? That he has an ihtilam. Right? He had a wet dream or something. Pubic hair has come out and he reaches the age of 15. For a girl it's exactly the same, except that she has a hayd. That's the 4th one for a girl, that she experiences her hayd. So whether she's not 15 yet, she's 9 or 10 or 11 years old and she has a hayd, then she is officially mukallaf. Okay? So mukallaf is a condition for your fasting. What about a child that fasts? 8, 9 years old is fasting. Is it right? Is it fine? He gets reward for it. For every good the child does, he gets reward. But if he doesn't fast, then there's no sin upon him. Many of the Sahaba, they trained these children from young. They trained them. So some of the scholars did qiyas. Here they struck an analogy with the hadith of Salah. That the Prophet ﷺ said, when they get to 7, start training them. When they get to 10, they must know how to make Salah. And then you must start, giving them a small hiding when they don't make Salah. So that when they become mukallaf, they're ready. So the same here with your fasting. You start training them. Once they're at 10, they should be ready. But it's not an obligation yet. It's only an obligation when they are mukallaf. So you can't go to your 13-year-old son and say, you're going to get punished. He's not going to get punished. Until he's officially mukallaf, that is when he will he will get punished. But again, training is there, so that he's ready once the day he becomes mukallaf. You can't expect him to fast the first time in his life when he's 15 years old. Okay?
Again in Cape Town, the 15 years, we never say Islamic because he's 15, we're missing the boat. We wait for 15 years. 15 Islamic years, which is, less than the 15
I never actually thought of that.
We normally talk about.
Never thought of that before, to be honest. Technically, we have to follow the Hijri calendar. So, 15 would be 15 according to Islamic birth date and not according to your other birth date. That's a good point there, Ibn Yusuf. Okay, so part of being mukallaf is that you are at your senses. You have your aql with you. Those who's not at their senses, they're insane, they are all of that, then they are also excused from fasting. Now the qiyas would be a senile person. Ibn Uthaymin says, they're excused from fasting. They're not at their senses, they can't fast. So it's fine for them not to fast. And they don't give fidyah. Right? They don't have to give the fidyah. What about the unconscious person? Right? He's excused until he wakes up and then he has to do qada. He has to then do the fasting another day.
Can an unconscious person do fidyah?
Sorry?
Can he do fidyah? The unconscious person when they wake up?
No. Right, and I will explain that soon, inshallah. Okay? The next point is he has to be qadir. He has to be able to fast. You must have the ability to fast. So, here, meaning if you are extremely old, you can't fast, you're too weak. You are excused from fasting. Right? So, and in this point here, the scholars have basically split up into 2 types. This here, also the sick person will come under this heading, because he's not able to fast. Right? So the sick people, they categorize into 2 types. The first type is those who are There is hope for him to recover. He has a flu, bad flu, he can't fast, but he's going to get better. Right? Once he's better, he has to make qada. Because Allah says, وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. Whoever is sick or on travel, they will have to make up those days. Basically, they have to make them up, after the fast. Okay? So the second category is those who there's no hope that they will get better. Like the extremely old person. They're not going to get better. They're old, they're brittle, they can't fast. They're excused. Another example is there are certain illnesses. Maybe the person has cancer. Maybe a person is young, but he has sugar. He's diabetic, he can't fast. He needs to be on insulin, he needs to be on tablets, he needs this. He cannot fast. They are excused from fasting. But they have to do fidya, which is that you feed a poor person for each day. Okay? يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينَ. That you feed a poor person for each day that you miss. Okay? So this is the old person and those who, there's no hope that they're going to get better. They cannot fast the whole year, for the next 10 years. They're excused, but they have to do fidya. So what's fidya? How do you calculate fidya? Yes, so it will be a nisf sa', meaning a half a sa', which is approximately 1.5 kilograms of your local staple food. So if it's rice, 1.5 kilograms of rice. If it's dates or bread, 1.5 kilograms of that. Okay, so I think here what happens is that they go and they do research. What is the cost of it for one meal? And they give you a price. So each day your fidya is 18 rand, 13 rand. They will then use that money to buy the food and feed the poor. That's something good. Helps the people, as opposed to you doing it yourself. You understand? So there's two ways. Either you do it that way, where after the month you remember that I missed 30 days and I need to feed 30 people. Right? Or you can do it in Ramadan. I'm not fasting this day. Bring a poor person and feed him. That's another way that it can be done.
So fidya doesn't have to be paid in the month for the person who's unable.
You must. It's like a fast that you missed out. So you have to make up for it. You understand? So you don't have to pay it on the day that I'm missing it. You can pay it at the end of the month. You can pay it off as long as you pay that for that day that you missed out. So either you can do it every single day. Bring in a poor person, you feed him. Bring in a poor person, you feed him. Or you can just do it at once. Here's the fidya for the month, no problem. As for doing it before the month, that's not allowed. Because it's like a day that you've missed. You can't fast before the month, so you can't pay fidya before the month. The fourth condition is that the person must be muqim. He must be resident and not a traveler. Okay? Obviously this issue, this differs now between, what's considered as a traveler. So if you fly from Johannesburg to Cape Town, are you a traveler?
Yes.
But it's so easy. Why? Are you allowed to break your fast? How can you break your fast? You're only on a 2-hour flight. It's no hardship. You're not suffering. But the ayah says if you are a traveler, you are excused. So as long as you consider the traveler, you don't have to fast. Whether there's no hardship or not. Whether it's a 45-minute flight from George and here, you're a traveler. If you want to eat, you can eat. You've been given that excuse. Again, now this is again unrestricted. A traveler means a traveler. For you to say there must be hardship, show us where it says there must be hardship before you can break your fast. You now want to restrict that meaning, you need to provide us with a proof. You understand? But the ayah says whoever is on travel, that's it.
But if I want to fast, it's okay.
But if you want to fast, you have the choice of fasting, right? And that's what we're going to discuss now as well. So, okay, there is ikhtilaf on the issue, but the correct view is that you have the choice. If you want to fast, you can fast. If you don't want to fast, you can break your fast. Okay? However, if the fasting becomes difficult upon you, if it makes you weak, or if it inflicts harm upon you, then it's wajib for you to break your fast. As a traveler, if you are suffering through your travel, because you are fasting, then you have to break your fast. Because the Sharia doesn't want you to harm yourself. You understand? So, and the Prophet ﷺ said this to a man when he said, لَيْسَ مِنَ الْبِرِّ الصَّوْمُ فِي السَّفَرِ. It's not from piety and righteousness that you fast while you're on travel. Because this man refused to break his fast. Because he thought, no, it's better, you know. Prophet said, it's not from piety or righteousness that you fast on travel. This was specifically for him, to get it into his head that you don't have to force yourself. Do you understand? But if you can fast, like we said, it's like a 45-minute flight. And it's better for you to fast. You still have a choice, but we say it's better for you to fast. For 4 reasons. Okay? The first reason is, the Prophet ﷺ often used to fast while he was on travel. Except for a time it became difficult and he broke his fast. And because there was a day where people saw that he was still fasting, so they refused to break it, but then they were suffering. So, someone came to him to say they're suffering. He said, why don't they break the fast? Because they saw you, Ya Rasulullah, fasting. So he stood on a hill and he drank. So that everybody can see that he broke his fast. Then everybody else broke their fast because they saw, okay, the Prophet ﷺ did it. So he knew, he made it such that no one can come and say, you have to fast if you are a traveler. Right? Secondly, if it's easier for you to fast, if you can fast, if there's no hardship, we say it's better, but it's not an obligation. For 4 reasons, this was the way of the Prophet ﷺ. The only time he broke his fast on travel was when there was hardship. Right? But that doesn't mean that this is a condition, that there has to be hardship. Secondly, it's easier and it's quicker in this way for you to fulfill your obligations instead of delaying. Because the more you delay, the more that obligation is hanging on your head that you have to fulfill. Thirdly, it's easier for you. It's better for you. You know it's done. It's out of the way. Right? And also, you are now in Ramadan, which is the best of times to be in. Fasting out of Ramadan is not the same like fasting in Ramadan. So therefore, it is better to do it if you can. Right? But if you can't, alhamdulillah, no problem. Allah has made it and given us this right where we can break our fast. And if it becomes too difficult for you, your principle of the Sharia is that you don't harm yourself. You don't lead yourself to your own destruction. Okay? And this is why we find even people who are pregnant and those who are breastfeeding, they're allowed not to fast. Because by breastfeeding, if you abstain from fasting, then the woman's milk becomes less, it affects the child. Therefore, it's okay, you don't have to fast. And this applies to the beginning of breastfeeding and at the end. The child can be 1 year, 8 months. If the woman needs to breastfeed and she can't, she can eat. She can just have to make it up, obviously. Okay? And then the 5th condition is that there must be nothing that inhibits your fast or prohibits or prevents your fast from being accepted. For example, a woman that has a hayd. Obviously, she cannot fast while she has a hayd. The hadith of Prophet ﷺ says, أَلَيْسَ إِذَا حَاضَتْ لَمْ تُصَلِّ وَلَمْ تَصُومْ. That when you have your hayd, you don't make salah and you don't fast. Right? And there is ijma' on this fact as well. Aisha radiallahu anha used to say, كُنَّا نُؤْمِرُ بِقَضَاءِ الصَّوْمِ وَلَا نُؤْمِرُ بِقَضَاءِ الصَّلَاةِ. We were commanded to do qada of our fasts, but not qada of our salah. So when a woman misses her salah because of hayd, there's no qada for her. She doesn't have to make up that week's prayer. She missed a fast, she says, we were commanded to make it up. Explicitly, hadith, right? That is the proof for why women make up the fast, but they don't make up the salah. So the issue that the brother asked is that during the day, if this thing that prevents your fast from being accepted goes away. So let's say the woman, during the day, though time her hayd goes away. She's now pure, nothing's preventing her from fasting. Let's say you're a traveler, you arrive at 10 a.m. in the morning, you're not a traveler anymore, you're now resident, what must you do? Do you fast the rest of the day or do you not fast the rest of the day? The view of the author here is that you must fast the rest of the day. You must fast the rest of the day, and this is the view of the Hanbali madhab, that you must fast the rest of the day. Ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah, he argues and he says there's no benefit to your fasting. So therefore you don't have to fast the rest of the day. And there is a narration of Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he says, Man akala awwal an-nahar, whosoever eats in the beginning of the day, فَلْيَأْكُلْ آخِرُ, then he should eat at the end of the day as well. Because you can only fast from Fajr to Maghrib. You can't fast half a day. There's no such thing as a half-day fast.
Just one question, and those people that goes on holiday, will they be classified as a traveler or?
Technically they are travelers. While they're traveling, they are traveler. But that's another issue I think we can discuss in another time. The issue of traveling in Ramadan unnecessarily. You understand? Because remember, you're taking the virtuous time of fasting for a holiday. Now you're not going to fast. You're going to make it up. Right? I think we can discuss that next week, inshallah. So we stop here. Right? Next week we'll carry on from the niyyah, inshallah ta'ala. Sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Is other